Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has claimed victory in Canada's elections.
From coast to coast to coast, tonight, Canadians rejected division and negativity.
But he's lost some of his power. His Liberal Party fell 14 seats short of a majority in Parliament.
You are sending our Liberal team back to work, back to Ottawa with a clear mandate. We will make life more affordable. We will continue to fight climate change. We will get guns off our streets, and we will keep investing in Canadians.
It's not Trudeau's economic performance that's disappointing. The country has prospered since he took office in 2015. The Canadian dollar has risen more than 4% against the US dollar this year, making it the best performing currency in the G10. Unemployment dropped to 5.5% last month, its lowest level in more than 4 decades. And inflation remains close to the Bank of Canada's 2% target. Trudeau, however, stumbled on his environmental goals. He introduced a carbon tax to fight the global climate crisis. But his government also spent $4.5 billion on a pipeline expansion to get Alberta's oil into global markets. His Liberals didn't win any seats in the province. His popularity also dropped over old photos of him in blackface and his improper handling of a corporate corruption case. It all seems to have cost him some votes. Out of 27 million eligible voters, only 7 million cast their ballots. The winner of the popular vote was the Conservatives, even though Trudeau's Liberals won more seats in Parliament.
Tonight, Conservatives have put Justin Trudeau on notice. And Mr. Trudeau, when your government falls, Conservatives will be ready and we will win.
The Liberals now have enough seats to form a government. But history shows minority governments in Canada have barely lasted more than 2.5 years. And without a majority, Trudeau has to work with political rivals with opposing views to push through his agenda. Sibel Karkus, TRT World.
And for more on this, Chris Alexander joins us now from Ajax in Canada. He's a former immigration minister under the former Conservative Party government. Good to have you back with us, Chris. Now, tell us, this, as we know, was more about perhaps a referendum on Justin Trudeau's character. It was easy for an international audience, I guess, to forget that he was running on an agenda of his own. What was that agenda in terms of the economy?
Well, I think it was a very image-driven agenda. He has built up a very strong brand on all media channels. And the economic message was, I'm going to help the middle class. We know middle class people, families feel under pressure around the world. And his message was, I'm going to give you help with tax relief, with support for childcare, and with a strong job market. And to some extent, he has delivered, while at the same time delivering some very worrying results for Canada's fundamentals. And I think that's economic fundamentals. And I think that's one of the reasons why the result yesterday is disappointing for him. He promised to balance the federal budget this year. Instead, we're facing a $27 billion budget. And so he doesn't really have the trust of Canadians on those larger macroeconomic issues anymore.
No, and I guess in his previous term, he had the luxury of commanding a majority in Parliament, and therefore he was really spearheading quite a left-leaning agenda, a progressive on social issues, willing to run deficits to tackle income disparities. He was assertive on climate change. Now that he's forced into a minority government situation, what does that mean for that agenda?
Well, I think your point is a good one. There are going to be cross currents that he will face, competing pressures. On the one hand, you're right, both his party and the Socialist Party in Canada, the NDP, have lost seats. That's going to force Trudeau to rely on the NDP for support in Parliament, almost certainly. Meanwhile, the right of centre Conservative Party, my party, has made important gains. They won the popular vote. But they are not in government. They are facing a potential working coalition, whether or not it's formalized, that will be even further left because the NDP has been proposing wealth taxes in their platform, and is traditionally much more skeptical about international trade and trade deals.
Now, there's one issue I want to talk about, and that's a potential flashpoint, and that's the proposed expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which would carry crude from Alberta to a port near Vancouver. The Trudeau government bought the pipeline last year to save its expansion. What would his victory mean for that project there?
Well, we've seen over the last 4 years, Liberal Party share of popular support, popular vote in Canada declined by about 5 percentage points. And most of that vote went either to the NDP, to English speakers in the NDP, or to the Green Party of Canada, who basically said over and over again, you say you're for climate change, Justin Trudeau, and yet you bought a pipeline. So these two parties, one of which, or both of which, will hold a decisive balance of power in the new parliament, are absolutely against pipelines. That's why I think the oil and gas industry in Alberta and elsewhere across the country is waking up to disappointment this morning. They do not see pipelines as more likely to be built in this new context. And indeed, some of them are making announcements that indicate how they feel about this new government that's coming into office in Ottawa. Husky Energy has announced very significant layoffs to its Canadian workforce this morning.
Okay, Chris Alexander, we'll have to leave it there, but I guess we'll see how Justin Trudeau manages to cobble together a ruling government. Thank you again for your analysis here on Money Talk.